Thank you for joining in us as we look at this devotional series, Be Thou an Example. Today we're continuing to look at Romans 12:1 and 2, and we're looking at some of the different attitudes that a Christian should have as they strive to follow the example Christ has set, and in doing so, set the example for others. Let's look at Romans 12:1. I beseech you, therefore, by the mercies of God. First of all, remember, we saw that following Christ's example and setting the proper example for others is an act of God's mercy. We went on, we also saw that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. Remember, a part of our attitude should be, Lord, I recognize this life I have is not my own. You've given it to me. You've sustained it within me all these years. It's yours. I'm simply using what you've given to me. So therefore, Lord, you have a right to tell me however you want me to use this life. But it even goes on. Holy, acceptable to God. Here we find another attitude we should have as we seek to follow Christ's example and set the example for others is we should have an attitude of using our life in a holy, acceptable way to God. These go hand in hand. By living a holy life, a life separated from sin to His service, we are living a life that is acceptable to Him, or pleasing to Him, I guess is probably a good way to put that. You know, folks, if you're like me, you live your life to please others. I used to be that way, especially when I was younger. I used to like to please others. Sometimes I would get more joy out of pleasing others than I would pleasing myself. Now, I realize you have to be wise in this, and as a younger person, I learned the hard way at times people can use you when you're that way. When you seek to please somebody with your life, that opens up an opportunity many times for them just to use you, where you don't realize how they're abusing you and mistreating you. And, I'm not talking about anybody in my family either. My family was really good to me. I'm saying as I got a little bit older, maybe in my 20s and 30s, there were times when people would just absolutely abuse me and use me because I just wanted to please people. It made me feel good to know I was pleasing people. Well, let me tell you something. I should have had an attitude those years. I want to please my Lord. Period. By pleasing my Lord, by wanting to please my Lord alone, I would have automatically pleased others when it was appropriate to do so. And hey, there were times I would have automatically displeased others when it was appropriate to do so. Folks, our attitude should always be, first and foremost, above anyone else in my life, I want to please my Lord. What my Lord wants me to do is what I want to do. It takes first place in my life. I'll tell you, to have the grace to have that attitude in a consistent way is a real blessing from the Lord. Let me tell you. If each one of us can truly get to that point in our lives where we can honestly say all we want to do is please our Lord, what a blessing that is. Man, talk about making it easy to follow His example. That's when it's easy to follow His example, When we get to the point we really mean, that's all I want to do is please Him. Now, I know as Christians, a lot of times we say that. But I'm afraid, again, I'll use myself as an example. I'm afraid there are times when we say that, but we really, down deep, don't mean it. I mean, we may want to please Him, but He might not have first priority as far as that goes. Whether we want to please ourselves and that slips in ahead of Him, or pleasing other humans, that slips in ahead of Him. Many times a Christian might even believe they want to please the Lord. But when you look at their life, you can tell that really that's not what's going on in their heart. They're not putting Him first. Here again, Paul describes it as what? Paul describes it simply as living a life that is wholly acceptable to him. What should our attitude be as we seek to follow Christ's example and follow those and set the example for those around us? All I want to do is please you, Lord. Just show me what you want me to do. I want to please you first and foremost. If I have the blessing of being able to please others as I please you, fantastic. But you know what? Sometimes if I have to take a lonely stand and please you and you alone, that's all right too. Because all that really matters to me is I'm pleasing you with my life.